Hi there. Today, I thought I would talk to you about a word that's very often used by artists, designers, curators, and um, anybody who is generally dealing with art or artistic merit. Um, that word is aesthetics. And for a lot of people, it has a lot of different meanings. And I don't know if you have ever used it um, carelessly yourself, but you could say that, my aunt has fabulous aesthetic sense. Whenever she comes shopping with me, she picks the best thing, and I invariably like it. Well, think about it, that she could just have good taste. And good taste is not aesthetic sense. Good taste is an experience in evaluating beauty um, and making it relevant to the need of the moment. Aesthetic sense is something very, very deep and very profound. A person with a good aesthetic sense would be able to use it in several fields, extending way beyond art or design. Uh, Talking of design, art and design are both learnt in design schools or art schools. And one would think that anybody who has come out of a design school would have a good aesthetic sense. But aesthetics can only be learnt as a subject in a department of philosophy in a university. So it is more related to um, the spiritual, philosophical side of judgment than purely the material beauty of anything. And it begins quite early in life when a child's wonder sense begins to develop, and at that time you almost know that this awakening in that child can be honed further. And like a child goes to a fabulous new space and something that is not generally used to, and a lot of children will be busy doing their phones or doing whatever they're engaged in, and one child will turn around and suddenly look at this whole thing and say, that is awe. It's wonder sense. It is the germination of this underlying search and connection with beauty. So when the child lets out that sense of delight, for a moment that child has lost itself. It's not thinking of anything. It's just enthralled by the moment. You get a little older and you're sitting perhaps by a sunset, and you get fully immersed in it because it's a magical moment. You're sitting by yourself, and you can't help but feel a sense of undescribable upliftment within you. And you lose yourself. So I would say that it a matter of good taste, beauty, materiality. You don't lose yourself. You find yourself fully engaged and active, and your mind goes clicking and saying, how much will it be? And should I get it? And is it worth it? Or, it will occupy you. Whereas the simplest test is that when you are with someone aesthetic or something aesthetic, or you're going through an aesthetic experience in music, dance, cinema, literature, I mean anything, your your awareness level first begins to get heightened within you, and at that point it connects with what you are seeing, and you lose yourself in that experience. So it doesn't matter that you need to photograph the sunset or share it with somebody. It's in that moment of losing yourself near the sunset, you've grown a long bit. And for quite some time, this uh, factor has taken a back seat in people, because aesthetic sense starts not only with good genes, but it also has a lot to do with very sound upbringing, a good education, what you are exposed to in life, what you hear, the indirect influences of people around you. So, if you have been lucky enough to grow up in these circumstances, some things come quite simply to you, and they are not technical, they are not based on experience, they're just based on fine judgment. So, even if it's a genre of music that you don't know, but if something is playing and you'll say, what is it? So, it's and that connection then is not restricted just to music. You'll read a beautiful book and you'll be able to quote something out of it. You'll see a beautiful experience and you'll be able to summarize the gist of it. And what replaced aesthetic sense was just good taste, uh, opinions, critics, and the last thing to kill it was brands. You see, most of the brands are not aesthetic. I'm really sorry to say, because at some stage or the other, the marketing experts have forced the principal designer to say that the market wants this, the market needs this, and just move out. You cannot stick to that, because we need to sell, we need to market, and we need to put you out there. So in the creation of brands, a lot of marketing people and subsequently the CEOs who are responsible for the finances of the company have fired the most creative people uh, and the most aesthetic minded people from their jobs and told them to take a back seat. Just before this COVID and the retail collapse that was coming in the last 2 years, especially in the luxury sector, but nobody was kind of talking about it very clearly. I saw a huge number of really aesthetic minded people losing their jobs at the top. So um, this was only because that good taste, that innate understanding of things valuable and beautiful and fair at the same time, that judgment was not needed. What was needed was what sells and what is it that people want today. In responding to that continuously, what has happened is that uh, 5,000 manufacturers have flooded every market with what they think people want. In the beginning, people were delighted that they got what they wanted to, but later on, they were wondering when they would get something new. So they found everything so blah and everything started looking so similar to each other that, in a way, I feel that that reduction in retail is not only due to some inflation or this or that, it's also due to boredom. If you bring something fresh again into the market, I can't see people staying away from it for long. So think about this whole relationship that I'm trying to establish for you, starting with the difference between good taste, design, and aesthetic sense, and then aesthetic sense linked with marketing, and uh, you know the collapse of brands is going to come very soon. I have always told people when they refer to me or my activities as a brand, I have said that Pinakin is not a brand. It never wants to be a brand. And the, the right word for it is that we are just a bunch of happy people who like to make others happy through their through sharing their work. So we put it out simply. We don't have people promoting us in any way, and that sincerity which has gone out of the market because the market got too aggressive for sincerity has also been a kind of uh, precursor to boredom, because when nothing is brought to you with sincerity, with softness, with just a sense of sharing joy and delight, you don't want to keep looking at it and checking the price tag, because that itself has become so boring and exhausting for you that do you want to go through that experience again and again? So think about it. But I think that as soon as this whole thing subsides, there's going to be a great resurgence for uh, aesthetic minded people who uh, can value things of beauty and good taste and deal with them in a fair and ethical manner, and share that with you purely as a sense of delight. Those designers, those artists, those businesses that follow this ideology and had taken a back seat in the last 20 years because they didn't want to get into the wrong space, are going to come back into the market, and they are the ones who are going to now begin to interest you. See you.